Well, pumpkin pie might be king this week, but it's not the only pie worth baking. We know that, right? The book on pie is filled with unique crusts and fillings that you can try. I recently talked to the author and New York Times contributor, Erin Jeanne McDowell, about this new book and got a lesson on how to make that extra flaky crust. Check it out.
I'm so excited about my brand new book, The Book on Pie, which is everything you need to know to make perfect pies. The idea of this book is it's more than the sum of its parts. So it has 40 great crust recipes, 50 toppings and finishes, and 140 full pies. But you can
wait a minute, hold on. 40 crust recipes?
You heard right.
I didn't know there were that many ways to do crust.
There are so many. In fact, I have a cereal treat crust, like marshmallow crispy treats. I have a crust that is gluten-free. I have a vegan crust. There are all kinds of ways. Pie is for everybody, so I wanted to make sure I had it all covered.
Oh, wow. And you're going to show us some different pies today.
I am. In fact, I thought I'd show you really quick how to make my pie dough, because I think that that's the part that always intimidates people the most. But actually, I can make it for you in just a couple of moments while we're chatting here and show people just how easy it is. I've got 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour in my bowl and a 1/4 teaspoon of fine salt. I don't add any sugar to my pie dough because that way I can use the dough for both sweet and savory applications. And I think the filling is sweet enough.
Nice.
I'm adding 1/2 cup of cubed cold butter. And this is a very technical term I'm going to introduce you to now. What we do is we squish the butter. We squish it between our fingers.
That's my kind of cooking. Just squish it.
Squish it. You know, there is a technical term for this, which is to cut in or rub in the butter, but my nieces call it squishing, and I think that that makes it a little bit more fun. So we just keep squishing the butter until the pieces are about the size of walnut halves. And that's a little bigger than some recipes say. Some recipes say to do it the size of peas, but what we want is a really flaky crust. And what a lot of people at home don't realize is that the larger the pieces of the fat inside the dough are, the flakier the crust is going to be.
Oh, so the idea is not to be perfect and smooth it out. Let that be there. Now, while you're squishing, can you tell us, how did you get started baking pies? Where'd this passion come from?
I baked my first pies when I was about 14 years old with my grandma, Jean, and we just were doing it for fun, and I just completely fell in love with the process. But I also fell in love with, if I'm being honest, the feeling that I had the first time my grandma and I walked into a party and I was carrying a pie that we baked, and everyone's eyes went straight to the pie. And I thought, I want to do that for the rest of my life. I want to make people's eyes light up and just get so excited. And I think pie is one of those things that does that in such a unique way. Kids get excited and full-grown adults just, their jaws drop and they get all excited, and that is such a great feeling.
That's beautiful. So I see you're done squishing and you added, what was the water like? Was that room temperature or?
Great question. I added nice ice cold water because if there's one rule for pie dough, it's that it likes to be cold. When in doubt, chill it out. If it's not cold, when it hits the heat of the oven, it just melts, and instead of making those flaky layers. So you can see, I like to mix my dough by hand, so I'm already done here. Check that out.
You're done?
I'm done.
So why is this so intimidating? Why do we go out and get because I just buy the store-bought. I'm like, there's no way this could be, that would seem so doable.
Well, and that's the thing. I think it all comes down to technique. So that's really what this book is going to give you and teach you, or the little tools that you need, the tips and tricks that I like to say it's giving people those light bulb moments. When you read this text, I hope that there's something that you realize, you know, I wasn't doing that. That was the one thing that I haven't been doing. So it has a lot to do with patience. Make sure the recipe says to chill it for 30 minutes, don't try to skip that down to 15. Don't try to skip it entirely. And that's what I think people are doing at home a lot.
Right. And you said that you had in that book more than 100 recipes. So you have a few of the flavors there with you.
I do. So in front of me, I've actually got my black bottom pecan pie, which has a dark chocolate layer on the bottom, and then our typical classic kind of pecan pie on the top. So good. I've got my brown sugar chess pie, which is a little unexpected for Thanksgiving, but will really make people happy. Here's a great pie looking forward past Thanksgiving, my white chocolate peppermint pie, which is so much fun for the holidays, the winter holidays coming up. So as you can see, the possibilities are truly endless. There are so many options of what you can do. And I want to show you one last little thing, which is my pie party trick. If a pie is baked properly, it should be able to pop right out of the pan. And look at that. We just popped this entire pie right on out, and that makes it a lot easier to slice that pie too.
Yeah,
so,
how do we get ours to do that?
It's all about proper baking. I find that people at home, they're so nervous about burning their pie, but really pies like to have a long time in the oven. If they're not in the oven long enough, they are not going to get that crust baked. And that's a very common problem with a raw or a soft bottom crust instead of a really golden crispy one.
And you'll tell us specifically how to do this in the book.
Yes, absolutely. We talk about all these techniques, par baking, which is to partially bake your crust before filling it, all the things you need to know to get there, because ideally you should be able to hold a piece of pie like a pizza.
Girl, I love you. Okay. I only have a few seconds, but what's it like working for the New York Times? Because it's super popular.
A dream come true. And we just found out actually this week that the book made the New York Times bestseller list in its first week out in the world. So it's so much fun to work there and for all of my different clients and get my recipe seen by so many more eyes, which is the goal.
Wasn't that so awesome? I cannot wait to bake pie now. We can do it. And we are just getting started here on New Day. You'll want to wait before you go out and buy this year's It toy, because coming up next, we have a list of toys that will entertain your children and stimulate their brains. And a little later in the show, we're going to introduce you to the artist behind these beautiful creations that she calls vegan taxidermy. We'll be right back.